Welcome back to another episode. I am Sticks, and this is my best friend and co-host D-Lo, and we are Pardon My Wisdom. We have a few good topics for you today. So first of all, before we get into those, I want to go ahead and tell y'all to go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, support us. Again, we already hit our goal of 100 subscribers. So we're trying to hit a goal of 200 now. So go ahead and hit that like button and support your boys to get more content. But D-Lo, what we got going on today, man? What's the topics?
Man, you said it. We have a few good topics this week. We're going to talk about Kyrie Irving's suspension and loss of his Nike endorsement deal. We're going to talk about Takeoff's death and the state of the hip hop culture. And somebody has made their way back in the news again. Ime Udoka and his potential new coach for the Brooklyn Nets.
Man, you got Ime back in the podcast, bro.
Back in the podcast.
Man, stay trending, bro. But again, before we get into the topics, man, how was the week? As we always do to begin the episode.
Yeah, man. First and foremost, want to say to our niece, my goddaughter, we're thinking of you. We love you.
For sure.
Get better. But other than that, everything was good this week. Always good. I'll keep saying it. I'm sure the people that continuously listen to our podcast and get to this part, great spending time with my family when I have a chance to spend time with them. Just want to make sure that my kids understand that I love them. I'm doing things to make their future better if I can, and I'm doing everything that I can to do that. And loving on my wife as well.
Oh, for sure, man. For sure.
Let's talk about. Yep, my fault. Let's talk about. We'll talk about it after you say how your week has been, but we'll talk about what I didn't want to do on Monday, which is Halloween. But we'll talk about that real quick.
So yeah, man. My week was cool, man. Of course, my week is always, working with you with the podcast and of course the car sales, and when I get a chance to spend time with Sam, I can for sure every single weekend. Her birthday was Tuesday, November the 1st. So no,
happy
was that
belated.
Tuesday or Wednesday? Tuesday.
The 1st.
So
Tuesday,
Tuesday. Yeah, her birthday was Tuesday the 1st. So happy birthday to her. Happy birthday, baby girl. She just turned 15. I got a 15-year-old. Crazy. But everything is cool. We chilling this weekend. She like I told you earlier, man, she got this this baby in the crib. They're doing a birth control project at school. And this little baby, mechanical baby, driving her crazy. So if y'all hear anything in the background crying, I ain't no granddaddy yet, but
yeah,
I got a little one, and I got a little one back there, and my daughter is taking care of it, and she is going crazy. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, everything's
great birth control though,
bro. Great.
Based off of what you told me, it's great birth control. 6 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, man, listen, it was tragic when I walked in her room. It was this morning rather. So yeah, but now she's cool. We was gonna do some shopping for her birthday this weekend because I didn't have her last week and her mom did. So we was gonna do some shopping, but this baby done turned everything upside down. Everything upside. She don't even feel like going nowhere. A 15-year-old that don't want to shop. This baby is doing a good job. Baby is doing a good job. So, but what was you about to get into, bro?
Oh no, I was just gonna say. So Monday was Halloween, and I did participate and do the family activities. We were Scooby-Doo. My wife did not think I was going to be prepared, and I really just threw together the outfit real quick. So I was supposed to be Fred. She had brought the ascot, and I threw it together real quick, put a shirt on top of a shirt and some tight jeans and some loafers. And, to be out with the kids and go trick-or-treating, that was fun. But in all actuality, I was like, man, I can't wait to take this mess off and get back into the crib. But like I told you last week, you choose your battles, and that was not a battle that I wanted to fight.
For sure. And to give y'all props, man. Y'all look good. I saw the pics on Stacy. Shout out sis-in-law. You know what I'm saying. But I saw the
Yeah.
pics on the page, bro. Y'all look good. Y'all did y'all thing, man. Y'all did y'all
Well,
thing. It was a
hey,
good family
whatever.
moment right there, bro.
Yeah, yeah, I guess if you say so.
Yeah. Nah, it was dope. It was dope. It was dope. But nah, so let's go ahead and get into it. Before I start, bro, I do want to say too, man, to my niece, we are thinking about you. We got you in the prayer. So yeah, hopefully you get better as well. Go ahead,
Yep.
bro.
Yeah, so right into it, man. Kyrie has been suspended by the Brooklyn Nets and lost his deal or his endorsement deal with Nike. So Thursday evening, the Brooklyn Nets decided to suspend Kyrie Irving without pay for at least 5 games for his refusal to apologize for posting a link to a document or to a documentary that contains some anti-Semitic falsehoods. He
Mhm.
also, a day later, lost his Nike deal because of this situation. So, with all that being said, Sticks, how do you feel about Kyrie and this whole situation about the documentary and his suspension with the Brooklyn Nets?
Um, I'm kind of on the fence about it, honestly, because of course Kyrie is an amazing person. He has had some weird takes in the past, but he's an amazing athlete. He's an amazing guy. Um, so the link that he posted was in his words meant to be educational. Now, I know all of y'all have probably already looked this up, but for those who don't know, for what anti-Semitism is, it dates back to the birth of Christianity, saying that the
Mhm,
Jews were directly and collectively responsible for the crucifixion. Okay, but now in the 21st century, they're saying that the Jews are trying to control the world with capitalism and propagate communism by controlling the news media. Look, I don't want no smoke. I'm just
mm,
you know what I'm saying? I'm just, giving y'all the information that I've researched and trying to figure out what's going on with Kyrie. We
for
love
sure.
all religions. We love all
Mhm,
races and all forms of people. We are not here to spat anything anti-Semitic. I promise you. We don't want no smoke.
yep.
But we're just here to give out the news. So that's what anti-Semitism is coming from the media, coming from what people are saying that Kyrie is doing, Kanye is doing, these, that, this, that, the third.
Mhm,
But in Kyrie's words, it was just meant to be educational to his people. He was doing some research on the background of the Jewish community and some of the cultures in the religion, and he looked on Amazon, found it, watched it, shared it. To me, ain't nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm
right.
saying? Because from what he was trying to do was he was just trying to educate his people. Since y'all are talking about anti-Semitism all over the news, all in the media, this is what y'all saying Kanye is doing. I did some research. I got a little bit of insight. Now y'all should watch this and get some insight as well. So that's
Mhm.
what his situation was. To me, I'm cool with that. Kyrie, I don't think you did nothing wrong. You didn't say you were anti-Semitic. You didn't say you were against the Jewish community. You didn't say any of this. You just shared a link. You know what I'm saying? So to me, I'm cool. What you think?
So, I mean, if we follow the same rhetoric as we did with the artist formerly known as Kanye,
Hmm.
then Kyrie is wrong.
True.
But
Agreed. Agreed.
But, in this situation, with the situation of Kyrie, I don't feel like it's as cut and dry as Kanye's situation because Kanye just flat out tweeted what he tweeted about the Jewish
Hmm.
community. With Kyrie, yes, he posted a link to a documentary that has anti-Semitic, um, statements of falsehood in it, but he never said how he felt about the documentary. He never said anything anti-Semitic that came from
Hmm.
nothing anti-Semitic came from his mouth. Nothing insinuating anti-Semitism came from his mouth. So
Hmm.
to me, we can't condemn somebody for posting something and we don't know their true intent behind what it is.
Exactly.
And so, like, and that's why I said last week the cancel culture is starting to get really toxic because
Hmm.
without even having information, true clear cut information or evidence to support
Hmm.
why you're canceling somebody, we're using assumptions to fill those voids. And I mean, I think we all know if anything, what we learned from Kyrie last year with him sitting out for not getting the COVID vaccination is
Hmm.
he's gonna stand on what he stands on,
Hmm.
especially if you back him into a corner. I don't know Kyrie personally, and many will think differently than how I think. I feel like he's a educated individual. At least
Very
that's the
much
way
a
he
free
presents.
thinker. Very
Yeah,
much a free
at
thinker.
least that's the way he presents himself.
Mhm.
But he's also stubborn. And so
Mhm.
the reason that he's in the situation that he's in right now is because they said he refused to apologize.
True.
But if you look at the timeline of how all of this took place, he posted the documentary. He posted the link to
Mhm.
the documentary that's on Amazon. I actually just purchased the book a couple days ago just to see, like, okay, like I said, I want to do my own research. I'm not going to go off of what somebody said.
Right.
He posted the link. Somebody from Rolling Stones releases an article that says, actually what is in the documentary. And then from there, all of the backlash starts to come. The next day,
Mhm.
Kyrie releases a tweet saying where did it go? What did he say?
I got it right
Yeah,
here
the
for me to read
next,
it.
yeah, go ahead and read that. He says
It
that
says,
what?
I initially reacted out of emotion to being unjustly labeled anti Semitic. Instead of focusing on the healing process of my Jewish brothers and sisters, they were hurt from the hateful remarks made in the documentary.
Mhm.
He said, to all Jewish families and communities that are hurt and affected from my post, I am deeply sorry to have caused you pain, and I apologize.
So that was the latest apology. That was the last apology that he did. The one that he
Hmm.
did initially that didn't say I apologize. He actually just says it was very close to being an apology, like a complete
Hmm.
apology by saying I apologize. He just did not say I apologize. But in this tweet, the one that came after the initial backlash came, he says, I'm an omnist, which means someone that believes and respects all religions and
Hmm.
meant no disrespect to anyone's religious beliefs. He just wants to embrace and learn from all walks of life. Does that sound like an apology to you? I mean, it doesn't sound
Not,
like some.
no,
Go ahead.
no, it doesn't sound like an apology. It's an admission of him. It's him acknowledging that he might have been wrong for doing it, but it wasn't him apologizing for what the backlash was that came from it. But then,
So
nah, to
I
me,
have
it
a
wasn't.
different opinion on that. I feel like that the only thing missing out of there is I apologize.
For sure, for sure, I agree.
So I feel like, I mean, okay, it might
Like I said,
not.
it's an admission of guilt, but it's definitely not.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
definitely not an I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, we okay. So now we're back on the same boat. I feel like
Yeah, yeah.
that shouldn't that statement shouldn't have enraged everybody to continue to ask the questions that they asked of Kyrie and want him to disavow anti-Semitism because
Hmm.
he basically said, He basically said, I want to learn from these different religious beliefs, and I'm embracing all religions, all races. It's unlike what
Yeah,
Kanye did by going
yeah,
on a damn world tour saying
man.
what he said. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
it's it's different. Um, but to me, again, I'll say like what you said earlier. I don't want any smoke um, with this. We're just saying how we feel and what we believe to be true about this Kyrie situation. And
Hmm.
my real issue with the whole thing, and then I'll turn it back over to you, is
Hmm.
the media once again is putting their 2 cents on it and basically bullying Kyrie to, or basically did bully Kyrie to apologize, and he wouldn't apologize, and then he got suspended, and
Hmm.
now he has to apologize and go through these 6 steps that he has to complete in order to get back
Hmm.
into the NBA. I just have a problem with how nobody really I have a problem with nobody really cared that he posted that link until the media did what they did, and
Hmm.
now it's, I wanna say, a fake outrage.
You think it's okay? Okay, that's a good take. I'm gonna ask you about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, but leading up to the suspension, it was like from when he posted it earlier in the week. It was a couple of days where it grew into, like you said, an outrage. I'm gonna put
Mhm.
quotes on it because you said fake,
Yep.
but for the Brooklyn Nets and the owner Joe Tsai to punish Kyrie.
Mhm.
And it it had sided with the public in believing that Kyrie's refusal to condemn his comments and the contents of the film that he showed on social media, and it left them literally no choice but to suspend Kyrie, honestly.
Yep.
But the owner Joe Tsai had resisted and took his time and suspended him because he kind of wanted to see if he could educate Kyrie in what was going on. So he got the Anti-Defamation League, the ADL,
Mhm.
to come in and talk to Kyrie, and he watched the whole like a 3 or 4 hour hate filled film and tried to talk to Kyrie about what his words and what his actions were doing to the public.
Mhm.
And they kind of talked about the whole movie and this and the third, and it's like it to me, I think Joe Tsai is getting some backlash for not immediately suspending Kyrie for what was going on. And
Mhm.
the only reason why he's getting that backlash is because it's in the wake of Ye. To me, that's
Right.
what I was thinking. It's in the wake of
Yes.
what Ye was doing and all of this stuff that's happening to Kanye, him losing all of his deals, his losing his bank account, his losing all of this money. And now here comes Kyrie a week later posting some of the same ideologies that Kanye had that he got killed for. Killed is a bad word, but he got, blown up for in the media. So
Mhm.
why are you not taking the same stance with Kyrie and getting him up out of here, for lack of a better word, right?
Right.
So Joe Tsai issued a statement Friday declaring that he was disappointed that Kyrie appeared to support the film that
Mhm.
was based on the book that has the anti-Semitic disinformation, and described his desire to sit down and make sure he understands that this is hurtful to all of us. And as a man of faith, it is wrong to promote hate based on race, ethnicity, and religion. So
Mhm.
he was low key trying to give Kyrie a chance to make it right, which I respect Joe Tsai for low key.
Right. You respect. I feel like you have to respect. This might seem bad, but you have to respect both sides of it. Um,
Hmm.
you definitely have to respect. You have to respect that Joe side try to give it some time and give Kyrie the ability to, for lack of better terms, not like, well, yeah, for lack of better terms, make it right.
Hmm.
But you also have to look from the perspective of Kyrie. Again, I'm gonna say we don't know his true intent
Right.
for posting that link. For
Well,
all we know,
what he said, it was just to educate. He educated himself, and he wanted his people to educate themselves as well. That's what he said. That's from his word.
right, but so the question is, what type of education are you trying to put out there,
Agreed,
right?
because
Are
he
you
posted the
trying to
link with no.
with
He
no
just posted
caption
the
or
link,
anything?
no
Right.
caption, no nothing. Just posted the link, so we
E
don't know why he posted it. So yeah, you're right.
Exactly. So, I mean, obviously, you can look at it from both sides. Are you trying to educate people to be hateful, or are you trying
Hmm.
to educate people to not relive what Jews went through, what blacks went through to get to the point that they are right now? Are you
Hmm.
trying to just start a conversation? And that's the thing that's lacking in this country. I know we don't want to get political, and I'm trying to stay away from it as best I can.
Right.
That's the
Facts.
thing that's
Facts.
lacking in in our country right now is the ability to have a decent conversation with somebody
Hmm.
that you disagree with.
Right.
Because now it's just, oh, they don't think how I think. Let's get them out of here.
Yep.
Oh, this person is supporting this person. I don't like them. Just let's just have a conversation because more than likely, what we find with any race, any religion, um, anything of anybody that we disagree with is our differences are a lot less than our likenesses. And so if we would have that conversation and just openly have open dialogue, I think we would find that out.
And I agree with you on that too, because just a simple question of, so what did you mean by this? Or what was the
Right.
reason for you posting this? So just a simple question like that can open up so much more of a conversation as to what Kyrie really meant. But like you said, man, cancel culture is so crazy now that it's like, okay, this film is anti-Semitic. We just got Kanye up out of here. Let's get Kyrie up out of here too. You know
Yes.
what I'm
And
saying?
that's
So it's
and
like,
so
and they jump so fast to do that. It's so crazy, bro.
exactly. And so that's why and maybe I shouldn't have said fake outrage. It's definitely not fake outrage, but it's an outrage that was manufactured. It was
Agreed.
outrage that was manufactured, right? And I feel like it was by the media, not necessarily from the public doing their own research. It was somebody from, like I said, Rolling Stones posted it and they did their research. And then it came out how it came out. And now everybody in the
Mhm.
public's like, oh, this is wrong. And I mean, the documentary's been out since 2018.
Right.
So I
And
don't,
that's the same thing Kyrie said. He was like, "Yo, it's 2022. History shouldn't be hidden from anybody."
right,
You know what I'm saying? That's another thing he said. He was like, "This you could have found this back in 2018." You know what
right.
I'm saying? I'm trying to educate my people, and in 2022, history should not be hidden from anyone. So I kind of now that he's actually coming out and speaking about why some of the reasons why he posted it and how he even came across the um the documentary in the first place. It's like, okay, I see what not Kanye, I see what Kyrie's saying. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But initially, whenever he was asked about it after he posted it, he did seem kind of defiant. You know what I'm
Well,
saying? He
yeah,
kind of
because
yeah.
of the way he was asked the question. Well, he really wasn't even asked the question. They basically put the label on him of being anti-Semitic.
Anti-Semitic,
And
exactly.
and like I said, if we did not learn anything about Kyrie last year, is he's gonna if you back him into a corner, he's gonna stand on how he's kind of childish in a way when it comes
In a
to,
way.
situations where people go against how he feels. I mean, we know he's a flat earther, so he's not I'm not
Mhm.
gonna say he's not all there, but there's obviously there's theories against why the earth is not flat, and then there's theories to why the earth is flat. Yeah,
Mhm.
I don't sit on
I
that flat
don't.
earth idea right now. And not to get
Yeah.
away from the topic that we're on, but we
Right.
know that Kyrie he can be defiant and go against the grain. And
Mhm.
so when he's backed into these corners, he's gonna stand on what he said. And he's not
Mhm.
so when he shut down at that press conference after they played the Pacers, I think.
I think it was the Bulls.
The
No,
Bulls.
it was
Okay.
yeah, it was the Bulls. Well, the Bulls was the last game they won before he got it. So it might have been the Pacers. Yeah, you're right. You're
Well,
right. You're right.
whoever it
Yeah.
was, that press conference where it all blew up and he refused to apologize.
Mhm.
Um, he shut down because, as he said it, they put labels on him and put words in his mouth that he never said. And that's where I'm at. Is he
Yeah.
never said anything? Yes, he posted that, and I don't condone hate. I don't condone falsehood of any religion or any
Mhm.
race.
Mhm.
But we don't know the true intent of why he posted what he posted. And for us to cancel him for that, I think it's a bit premature. We could have asked the right questions to get him to open up about his true intent. And then
Mhm.
from there, we could have learned more. We could have
Exactly.
condemned him or praised him for what he posted.
And that's for sure. And it's crazy because you could kind of see because shoot, when they played the Chicago Bulls, he didn't take a shot into the fourth quarter. He only scored 4 points in that game.
Right.
And the funny thing is that this false label that they put on him, I'm gonna call it a false label because I definitely don't think he's anti-Semitic.
Right.
But um this false label that they put on him definitely affected him, and his teammates noticed it. In the Bulls game, a lot of them were like, for a guy who is, known for averaging 25 to 30 points a game, you could tell that he was distant from the team. It was like an anvil hanging over the team. Like it was a weight
Mhm.
hanging over the team because of this whole situation through with Kyrie Irving. So it was like, it's, it, like you said, man, with a conversation, just asking somebody how they feel, or asking somebody what do you mean, or asking somebody like what was this about? Just having asking that simple question can open up a whole new world of thought process with everybody that you speak to. Like
Right.
we got to learn how to communicate. Social media has taken that away from people.
For
It's
sure.
it's, gi- it's giving them a platform to speak their mind, but it's also taking away that human interaction of, hey, how do you feel?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
And
So it's
and
like,
it and also because we have so much information at our fingertips and we can easily look at a headline and think we can gather the full depth of what the topic is about. We're quick to judge anybody that has an opinion that doesn't follow the information that we're looking at. The internet in itself, you can go down a rabbit hole of whatever you want to go down. I can look
Mhm.
up a good reason for people to eat shit and have great have great facts to support that. But in
True,
reality,
true.
based off of what the internet says, but in reality is that's we should not be doing that. So I think, like you said earlier, we know a lot about Kyrie. We
Mhm.
know a lot of things that he has tried to make himself in the last couple of years. Being a racist or being an anti-Semitic person is not one that pops my mind. Maybe he is, but how he has presented himself, the evidence of who he is in the last few years does not say that, has not said that to me.
At all, at all. So, just getting into kind of like the suspension. I know you said it's a six-step process. I'm let you talk about that, but Joe Tsai, of course, was talking to lawyers and, of course, the league office, and of course, they landed on a 5-game suspension without pay, which is going to
Mhm.
cost Kyrie 1.2 million, and a requirement to complete a series of objective remedial measures to address the harmful impact of his conduct. So, what is that 6-step process, D'Lo?
I didn't have that down, but let me get it up for you.
No, I have it, but I was going to. So basically, in the email outline of the suspension to his agent, the conditions needed for Kyrie's reinstatement include a public statement recognizing that the
Mhm.
film is anti-Semitic, an apology for supporting the film and the falsehoods within it, training sessions on the dangers of hate speech, and then
Mhm.
also meetings with Brooklyn Jewish leaders within the community. So those are the things that he has to do as far as to get back on the court. Now he's going to serve the 5-game suspension, but in order to get back on the court with the Nets, he got to go through the list of things as far as making that statement, recognizing that is anti-Semitic and things of that nature. So it's kind of like um which we're gonna talk about later. It's kind of like the Ime situation, with Boston. It's like you gonna serve this year, you're gonna
Right.
serve your suspension, but then we gotta reevaluate to see if you can get back on the team. So it's kind of like that too, in a sense. So I mean, it's kind of affecting Kyrie a little. This is affecting Kyrie even more because he's on the. I think if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think he's on the last year of his contract this year because he was trying
Mhm.
to get traded this past year. His trade value was already low, so this might even affect that even more. So that like it might affect that more in the long term.
So I think he has an option next year, which
Mhm.
if he's smart, he would probably pick that up. But I
I
also
would
think,
too.
one thing we also know, another thing I shouldn't say one thing, another thing we know about Kyrie is money is not really a driving factor for him. So
Very true.
he very well could say, "I still want to be out of Brooklyn." The only thing that would probably keep him there is if Kevin Durant decides he wants to stay
Hmm.
in Brooklyn. And the way he's been playing the last 2 games, getting Kyrie out of there may be the option for him. But it's tough. We'll
It
see.
is tough.
The time will tell how Kyrie and this whole Brooklyn Nets situation will play out. I don't think
Mhm.
this one will go away lightly. Like we mentioned about Ime, and again we'll talk about him later on. I felt
Mhm.
like that situation would die down within a couple of months, this Kyrie situation, just because of how Kyrie is perceived in the media,
Mhm.
for not only his decision last year, but for some of the things, his pre-game and during game antics. I don't think this one will die down easily.
Yeah, it's definitely not. It's not going to die down too easily. He's already lost, his Nike contract. So they kind of taken. It kind of seems like a lot of these, the team and some companies, especially Nike, are taking the same kind of stuff that they took with Kanye.
Hmm.
Just kind of like, hey, we can't have this in our company, so we gotta let you go, type of thing. But
Right,
it's like there at some point, someone's behavior can do more than just damage the company's bottom line. You know what I'm saying?
right,
But his you have your talent. We know that you're an inevitable talent, but at some point, it's like some of the things that you say from back 5 years ago with the flat Earth situation, and then a couple of years back with the non-vaccination, which I that ain't none of my business. I got vaccinated, but
right.
everybody don't. You know what I'm saying? If you don't feel like you want to do it, you
That's
ain't
your
got to do it.
choice.
You know what I'm saying? That's your
Right.
choice. You know what I'm saying? But it Kyrie at some point has to understand that pride comes before the fall. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Kyrie's future is in Kyrie's hands, and he might be the only person suffering through this experience, but he the only one who doesn't understand that. Like, he's not the only person. So
Right.
he gotta figure it out, man. I mean, but it's just weird, man, because I feel like you can't you can't be a free thinker anymore, bro.
I feel like, when does it stop?
Right.
When do we say, okay, now this is a bit egregious of what you guys are doing to this certain individual? Because
Mhm.
it's been plenty of people that before Kyrie posted that post about that film, and plenty of people after he posted it, that have posted things that they don't entirely agree with, but one part
Mhm.
of whatever it is that they posted, they agreed with. There's been plenty of people that have supported a person or a thing that they didn't entirely agree with, and we didn't condemn them, or they deal with or made deals with people or things that they don't entirely agree with, and we haven't condemned them as we have condemned Kyrie. Again, we're in a climate right now, so especially coming from the Ye situation a couple weeks ago, where we are trying to combat anti-Semitism, and I get that, but I think we have, as a collective group of individuals or a group of people in America, have began to, like, move to the overly sensitive side of things, and not truly understand where anybody's coming from, and just condemning them without any evidence, and assumptions filling the void. And that's
True.
my final thought on it.
Yeah. I was going to ask one more question before we
Yeah,
ended the
yeah, go
Kanye
ahead.
segment. Do you think this is the last time we
The
see
Kyrie.
Kanye? I mean, Kyrie in the Nets jersey, bro. Like, do you think they waive him? If they do waive him, do you think he will be on a minimum contract with another team? Like, do any other team want to be in the Kyrie business? Like, what do you think?
I don't think it's the last time we see Kyrie in a Nets uniform. This may be the last year that he's with the Nets. But I do think he at least puts it on one more time,
Hmm.
maybe a couple of games. We know that, well, LeBron has came out against him, but I still think we know
Hmm.
that the Lakers would pick him up. Um, I don't
He
want to
also
say
said
that.
he wanted to play for the. He also said
Yeah,
he wouldn't mind going back and playing with LeBron in the summer.
yeah.
So
I
yeah.
don't know for sure. I can't say for sure that the Lakers would pick him up, but in my opinion, um, if he did the 6 steps that the Nets have laid out for him,
Hmm.
and that they felt sincerity with it, then I feel like the Lakers would probably pull him in.
Yeah, I feel like and my final thoughts are I feel like Kyrie, with a couple of the things that he's done over the years and how he struck a chord with the community and with the NBA, he's kind of digging a hole for himself a little
Mhm.
bit. He or has dug a hole for himself and he's digging it deeper. He just gotta, you know, he's gotta chill, bro. Like,
Yeah.
his talent is inevitable. He's a superstar, probably arguably the best ball handler in the history of the NBA. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? But with all that being said, your talent doesn't, which I don't think he has a bad character, but his talent doesn't surpass the character that he portrays and what people see him as. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
I
So
agree with that 100%.
he's got to figure out a way to just at some point just be quiet. You know what I'm saying? And just play ball, bro. I don't want to be the shut up and dribble type, but when you posting things that are getting the world in a tizzy about what you're saying, then at some
Mhm.
point, all right, I just need to sit back. You know what I'm saying? And just,
Yeah.
do your thing. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's
There
that's
there's
that's my final thoughts on
consequences
it.
with freedom of speech.
There
You
is
know,
freedom
it's
freedom of speech ain't free. For real,
yeah,
for real.
yeah. The
It is, you can say what
consequences.
you want, but there's a consequences to some things you say.
Right. Yep. Yep.
Yep.
All right, so Tuesday morning, the hip hop community lost another one of its members as Takeoff, a member of the group Migos, was killed in Houston. It said that the altercation was because of a dice game. And Takeoff is, again, the latest member to lose his life in the hip hop
Mhm.
community over gun violence. Six, how you feeling about this latest loss to the hip hop community and Takeoff?
Man, of course, RIP Takeoff, man. Migos was one of those rap groups that low key changed the game, man.
Hmm.
They legit changed the game as far as like how you rap, like their cadence and how they rap in their songs. especially when they blew up off the song Versace with Drake, and just that cadence that they had is like now they have a different form of rap. People saying Migos rap or Versace rap or things like that. So they were innovators in the game in the hip hop culture for sure.
Mhm.
And to see Takeoff be killed over an argument that he wasn't even involved in. He
Mhm.
wasn't even involved in the argument. Um, and it just is so many of our black black men, but rappers in general and people in the culture that are being gunned down for stupid shit, bro. Like
Mhm.
stupid shit. And they said that the cause of death in Houston was 2 gunshots wounds to the head and in his torso that ended up going from his torso to his arm and stated in the cause of death. So it's like, bro, like I don't understand, bro. I don't understand why this stuff keeps happening, dog. This stuff keeps happening in our community. And I was watching a couple of reports and I was looking at DJ Academic's video, shout out to him, where he was kind of breaking down a lot of the footage that came from the bowling alley that they were at having the party. And he said something that was alarming. He said, street culture is synonymous with black culture.
Mm.
And people believe that if something street or hood or mob like is synonymous with us as black people. And I thought about it and I was like, yo, that's kind of true because as far as hip hop culture is tied with black culture.
Mhm.
And within hip hop culture is a lot of street culture.
Yep.
And talking about the ops and what you're gonna do to the ops and drugs and violence and this, that, and the third. And the fact that that is synonymous with us as a black community is disturbing, bro.
And
It's disturbing, bro.
so let's stick with that real quick. And I didn't want to. I battle with how I wanted to attack this segment,
Right.
because I felt like, well, naturally, this is always the rhetoric that is played when a rapper is gunned down.
Hmm.
And you're right; it is synonymous with. Well, you're right, and academics is right, and the people that put this rhetoric out is right. That is synonymous with black culture and hip hop culture is street culture. But it's a reason for that, and that's what bothers me. We had this conversation a couple of weeks ago
Hmm.
when Candace Owens put out her stats of what she found,
Hmm.
the ills of the black community, and it hurts because yes, it's true, but the question that never gets asked is, well, why is the black culture like that? And it's not our doing. And that's where I was trying to say a couple of weeks ago is it's not our doing. We've been
Hmm.
placed in situations that require us to fight for our survival and we still
True.
thrive, but they're unfortunate situations. Um, so the the street culture that comes with hip hop culture. First off, hip hop is just a sounding board for what goes on in the hoods. It's a
Hmm.
megaphone. It's not a sounding board. It's a megaphone
It's a
for
megaphone.
what goes on in the hoods. Most of these individuals that make it to be rappers or basketball players or athletes come from unfortunate situations. The things that they see or have seen in their day to day lives growing up,
Hmm.
they're going to rap about.
Hmm. Hmm.
They're going to let you know what's going on in the hood. It is unfortunate, but we can't condemn. We can condemn the actions that's being
Hmm.
rapped about
Hmm.
because that's not every black person's experience. It is the majority,
Hmm.
statistically speaking, is the majority of the black experiences living in the hood or living in unfortunate situations. But that was going to be my question was going to be to you, and you said that you don't know why it keeps happening, but is what can we do about it? If that is our experience and it's not entirely our fault. And I'll also stand on what I said a couple weeks ago as well, is we don't need to continue to ask people to help us out of these situations. We need to figure it out ourselves,
Mhm.
but we weren't the one that put ourselves into these situations.
Very true, very true. I mean, honestly, bro, I don't know what we can do because the way media works is that sex and violence and things of that nature sell. Drama sells. Drama
Mhm.
and sex sells. And unfortunately, if we've been put in situations like you said, unfortunately put in situations of drama, basically that's what we're going to talk about.
Right.
So I don't think that there's anything that I don't even want to say that because there is something we can do, but we kind of need to figure out exactly how to, I guess, better portray the message of what we're going through.
Mm.
It's not
Yes.
about, it's most of the time, and I live by this. It's a couple of sayings that I live by. This is one of them. It's not what you say, but it's how you say it.
Mhm.
And I think J. Cole is a really good proponent of this, is that he knows the struggle coming from Dreamville,
Mhm.
coming from Fayetteville, North Carolina. Fayetteville, North Carolina was a bad place at one point. Kind
Mhm.
of still is, but it was a bad place at one point. And the way he portrays his message doesn't come off as shoot a nigga, kill a nigga, fuck a bitch type shit. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm. Mhm.
he says those things in his raps, but it's like the way he relays his message is totally different from
It's sprinkled through there. It's not the only message that comes through it.
exactly. So again, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And if we can find a better way to portray our message of the struggles that we do go through with the drama and the sex and everything that sells in the industry, then it'll be a lot easier for us to get out of these situations.
Yeah.
And it won't be situations like this happening all the time. And another way that the rappers and the people the people that are in these positions can change this narrative as well is to be modest.
Mhm.
You don't always have to show what you have or talk about what you have or post where you are or this, that, and the third, because they were actually on Drink Champs here recently. And Nori told him to say, you got to watch what you post because even though you're just trying to show off and show your fans the things that you have, it's people
Mhm.
that follow you and watch you that have bad intentions and don't want the best for you. They're looking at your page and see you every day and say, I want that.
Yep. I
You
agree.
know what
I
I'm saying?
agree
So we
with
just got
that.
to be modest, bro.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with that. I feel like, and I did not say it, so I want to make sure that I put this in here. This is not a slap at any rapper that has lost their life. So
Mhm.
I want to make sure that I say it, that it's deeply regretful and not regretful.
100%.
It's deeply hurtful that somebody had to lose his life. And Takeoff, who um, again was a part of influential style, a change in the hip hop community, that he lost his life to some uneventful, unlikely scenario that was the gun violence that had happened in Houston. But the first thing I thought of coming into this segment was our entertainers, especially in the hip hop community, they need to be more mindful about staying out of situations that aren't favorable to them.
Mhm.
A lot of them are suckered into going back to the hood and spending majority of their time there when they work so hard to get out of that situation.
Mhm.
Jay Z has a quote that says, "People look at you strange, saying you changed like you worked that hard to stay the same." And what happens is most of the time, they're the ones that's changed.
Mhm.
Um, and that's true in most situations
Most situations.
where we see these rappers being gunned down. Like you said, they're posting their location or saying something of the sort of, "Come holla at me if you want XYZ," whatever the case may be,
Mhm.
and somebody comes and hollers at him. The only one that I think he didn't post his location, but he was always there, was Nip's situation where he got killed in
Mhm.
front of his store.
Mhm.
Um, but the other ones, you know, they posted their location or they were in a situation where they had no the odds were not favorable for them. Either no
Very true.
security guard or they saw the situation starting to get hostile and they remained there.
Mhm.
What was the one thing that our coaches always told us in while we were playing sports? If you with a group and they get into trouble, your name's gonna be in the paper, not theirs. The same is true with this situation. When shit goes down in the hood, people gonna look to get at you rather than anybody else because you're the one with all the money, with all the stuff that they want.
Mhm. For sure.
So I just feel like our entertainers, especially in the hip hop community, need to do a better job of not putting themselves in situations that aren't favorable to them.
Very true, man. Very true. And I mean, I'm not gonna get into all of the allegations of who they say did it or who shot who or who killed, this, that, and the third, because that's the media's job.
Yeah,
But there are there is some information out there if y'all want to go check it out. But it's funny because I was doing some research on Takeoff, because that dude was the quietest and probably the most reserved one out of the group.
right.
But and I didn't even know Quavo was his uncle. Did you know that?
Yeah. I knew him and Offset were cousins, and
Mhm.
Quavo was the uncle of the group, which is kind of
Which
strange,
is
but
kinda strange because they all about around the same age, but which
right.
is not, it's not that uncommon, honestly. But,
Yeah.
they were about they the reason why they went on Drink Champs was to promote, a
The album.
new the album that they got coming out called, Only Built for Infinity Links.
Mhm.
And they were about to drop the album that's gonna drop, and they were going under the moniker Unc and Few, which is kind of funny. But his actual solo album that he did back in 2018 actually hit number 4 on the charts, which is pretty
I didn't
dope.
know that. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Even though it seemed like Takeoff stood in the background of the group, he was the most loved member of Migos and a lot of people's favorite rapper in the group, even though, of course, Quavo said Quavo might have been the most talented of Migos, but Quavo actually was the one that said, hey, he got his name from being able to just jump on his verse and kill it in one take. He was just
Mm,
take off on the beat. That's where Takeoff came from. But
gotcha.
it's like, bro, like, cause I know, shoot, my little cousin Pat, Takeoff was his favorite rapper in Migos. And I was like, what? Offset is fire. Quavo is fire. I rarely ever hear Takeoff. And he was like, nah, bro, listen to Takeoff. Because
Mhm.
Takeoff is probably the best rapper in the group. And the more I listen, the more I realized that he was probably the most talented. And, you know, it's just weird, man. It's just like, bro, I just hate that a lot of people a lot of our people are being gunned down, man, and it's in the rap community. It's just weird, bro. It's just weird, and I want it just needs to end at some point. But you already kind of touched on it. Is that at least one rapper has been killed every year since 2018? You
Yep.
talked about Nip, who was gunned down in front of his store, Victory Lap. XXX Tentacion was gunned down in 2018 of apparent robbery. Pop
Mhm.
Smoke, a robbery, a home invasion. King Von, just out 3 o'clock in the morning. The argue he jumped out. They killed him. Young Dolph was killed buying cookies in
Yep.
2021, and somebody tried to rob him, drove up on him, shot him. PNB Rock was having, dinner with his family or breakfast with his family at Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. People ran up on him. And then this year, back in June, a New York drill rapper named Money Game Vante was killed in a pharmacy going to pick up some condoms, and he was killed in the pharmacy.
Mm,
So it's like, bro, it's a lot going on in the rap community right now, and I just pray that it just all stops, man. Because these guys with all this fame and all this fortune, bro, at some point we have to learn, like I said, just how to kind of be modest, bro. Honestly,
yeah. I I wish I did have like a solution right on hand that we could give to how we can solve this problem, not only in hip hop but in the Black community. But it's it's going to take some time.
hmm
We're still dealing with traumas, whether people like to realize, like to acknowledge it or not. But everybody in this country is still dealing with traumas that came from how this country was originated, and then from the Jim Crow and segregation eras, we're still dealing with that. I mean, that stuff was just 40, 50 years ago.
for sure,
So it's
man.
not just gonna leave overnight, and the things that we talk about in our in our culture, in our music, is reflective of that.
Mhm.
And again, I'm not asking. I don't think we need to ask outside of our race for a solution. We need to figure it out inside of our race, and then do it, execute on it. I think until then, until we can figure out a way to resolve or to have a resolution for this problem, we're going to continue to see it occur. Hopefully, it doesn't increase and it slowly decreases, but I think we'll see this occur for the next couple of years because of the culture that we've unfortunately built for ourselves. And
100%, man.
it's really young, and I'm sorry about that. This is my
No, you
last
good.
thing. It's really the younger group, so to speak, that is involved in most of this, and that's because I'm not gonna say they don't know any better, but they're trying to prove themselves in
Mhm.
the street life that they're involved in right now.
Mhm.
So if we can find, I think that may be the first step that we need to take, is find other avenues that the young people of our culture can be involved in a positive manner.
Mhm.
Then it'll permeate up into the older culture. Because I mean, you and I, we're in our latter years
Mhm.
of the millennials.
Mhm.
We don't directly involve ourselves in that culture, but we're
Mhm.
aware of it.
For sure.
And so if it dies at the young age, then naturally as they get older, it'll slowly trickle itself out.
True, true, true. Because the hip hop culture isn't going anywhere. But
Yeah.
what we can try to do as a community is change the narrative around the culture. And like you said, it starts with the younger generation because is as privileged as this generation is with
Mhm.
all of the technology and all of the things that they've been given that we didn't have when we were growing up in the millennial age, right? But as
Mhm.
privileged as this generation is, they are very they the influence that the rap community has on this generation is
Impressionable.
a very that's the word I was looking for. Good shit, my boy.
Impressionable.
And they are very impressionable. And the influence that that the rap community has on this generation is astounding because they didn't go through some of them do because they're in that situation, but a lot of people like my daughter or like your kids or like a lot of black kids these days didn't go through the same struggle that we went through. They have
Mhm.
a lot more privileges these days than we ever had.
Mhm.
So it's the culture that is teaching these children this street culture, the street life. And like you said, they're trying to prove themselves that they are about what they didn't have to go through. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So again, it's us starting with them, trying to teach them how not to be within that culture or what the struggles that we went through. You don't have to worry about those struggles. So it's more about the message and how we relay it and try to teach the younger generation to move away from that. So that way the generation after them can continue to keep that cycle going and changing the culture. So that's what we got to
Yeah.
do, man.
Yeah, all about education, and we're not talking
Hmm.
about in the school systems, even though that
Yeah.
could be a piece of it, but we're just talking about overall education of how to uplift
Hmm.
the Black community and then in turn uplift the hip hop community, so stuff like this doesn't happen anymore.
That's a fact, man. That's a fact.
All right, so moving on from Takeoff and the struggles of the hip hop community to Ime Udoka's back in the headlines.
I'm back in the headlines again,
When when
man.
does this when does this die, Sticks? When is he no longer a mainstay in the headlines? So Ime
Facts.
Udoka is back in the headlines after the Nets fired second-year head coach Steve Nash. The Nets have been in since their firing, they have been vetting other coaches, but it's looking like their candidate of choice is going to be Ime Udoka after looking into the situation that happened with the Boston Celtics and asking to
Mhm.
speak with him. It was granted by the Celtics, and it looks like they are in the final stages of finalizing a deal with Ime to be their next head coach. Sticks, what's your thoughts about the potential hiring for the Brooklyn Nets?
So our boy Ime back in the news again, back on the podcast one more time, man. But of course, as most of y'all might know, is that Brooklyn Nets just parted ways with Steve Nash.
Yep.
So that's how Ime Udoka even got into the conversation to get in the head coach job in the first place. But he is currently, as D'Lo mentioned, under a 1-year suspension with the Celtics for the improper workplace relationship. But they need to vet that out first. They need to get that
Mhm.
situation done first. I feel like, and just like we said in the past 3, 4 episodes that we done did on eBay, but it's only been 2. But yeah, but um we felt like in the past that he was going to get another opportunity to coach and that he honestly deserved an opportunity to coach. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? But he does deserve to be punished for the things that he did. So my thoughts on it is, how is it possible for the Nets to go ahead and give Buddy the job with no reprimand and not even have to fulfill the 1-year suspension that the Celtics gave him? And I know it's different per organization from what the organizational suspensions can be and what the NBA suspensions can
Mhm.
be. But at the same time, shouldn't the Nets have the same regard for the suspension as the Celtics do with what happened, right? No, you don't think so? What you think?
I mean, I don't. So if we're talking strictly organization, I don't think they should have the same regard for that suspension as the Boston Celtics because, as you mentioned, it is a strictly an organizational
True.
suspension that they have, um, which is why they went through the process of vetting out what actually went on. And
Okay.
I feel like the Boston Celtics, as we mentioned, did a terrible job with handling this
Horrible
situation.
job. Horrible job.
And so, to give an example, that would be like you have a ordeal with the company that you're with. They don't fire you, but they don't give you the hours that you need to,
Mhm.
make a living, which this is not the case with Ime. He just got half his salary cut, but still enough to live on.
Mhm.
But you get cut from your job, not cut, you get reprimanded from your job. They don't give you the hours that you need, but they're not firing you. So you put in applications for other jobs. You tell them the situation is going on right now, and they say, okay, that's fine. We'll still hire you. They do their due diligence and seeing what really happened, and then ultimately they decide to hire you. Same
Same
same principle
situation.
here. Yeah, yeah,
Same
same
situation.
principle
Same
here.
situation. I agree with that. I agree with that. And the Celtics have already granted him permission, you know what I'm saying, to talk to whoever he wanted to talk to if he wanted to leave the organization. They said they weren't going to stop him from getting jobs elsewhere. So
Exactly.
it's in that instance, then yes, the Nets have all right to speak to Udoka.
Yep.
And the Celtics say they will let him go freely. They will let him go without any compensation, which is even
Yep.
crazier. They don't want nothing in return for the
Nothing
man,
in return.
with nothing in return. So it's like, so, and well, I guess in that instance, then yeah, I can agree with the Nets. Like, shoot, I mean, you just lost Steve Nash, who, me personally, I didn't think was going to be a good coach anyway. I thought there
Mhm.
were so many better options out there than a rookie head coach in Steve Nash. Me
Well, I
personally,
mean, Ime was a rookie head coach too now, so
he was, but he had more experience than Steve Nash had being with Philly, being with San
right.
Antonio. So he was already under a couple of really good coaches prior to getting his first head coaching job. Steve Nash had never coached before.
Right. So then
You know
that's
what I'm saying?
that was what I was getting at is I mean,
Yeah.
Ime was also a rookie head coach, but of a he had more of a background in coaching in the NBA, where Steve Nash was he just a helper with the Warriors when KD was there? What was he?
He was
A
I think
consultant?
he was a consultant for the Warriors when KD was there.
Yeah.
He also coached KD in 2020 when it was in the Olympics, because he was an assistant head coach for the Olympic team in
Okay.
2020. So he has a relationship with KD. He has a relationship with Patty Mills because he was a second assistant to with the Spurs whenever Patty Mills was there.
We're talking
Also,
about Steve Nash.
no, oh shit, I thought you were talking about Udoka.
Yeah,
My
no,
fault.
no, we're
Yeah,
talking about
Steve
Steve
Nash.
Nash.
Steve
Steve
Nash.
Nash
Yeah,
was only a training consultant for the
he was a
Warriors.
consultant for the
Yeah,
Warriors. He was
okay.
only a consultant
Yeah,
for the Warriors. He didn't have any head coaching experience at all. Any coaching,
yeah,
it's not even first assistant, second assistant,
yeah,
position coach, none of that. He was just a
yeah.
consultant. You know what
So
I'm
in
saying?
that case, he's a true rookie,
He
whereas
was a
Ime
true,
Udoka
true
is just
rookie.
coming through the ranks, and he's a rookie head coach, but not a rookie coach in the NBA.
Exactly, exactly,
Yeah.
because he has a lot of experience with different as far as the Nets are concerned, he has experience in relationships with KD, Patty Mills. Probably the most important person he has a relationship with is Ben Simmons.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? To get for him to be able to possibly get Ben Simmons in line and have him a little bit more aggressive and actually playing basketball the way he knows he can play basketball, that'd be
Hmm.
huge for the Nets. But it's they still have to kind of get things together and kind of figure out things with the Boston Celtics and have a couple of more talks with Udoka to see where this is going. But they do have Jacques Vaughn right now as the interim head coach until Udoka can start the job. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, I mean, Udoka is an interesting kind of situation, bro, because all the backlash that he got from in Boston for that whole situation with the young lady to now kind of being well, in my opinion, kind of like back on top again and being able
Hmm.
to kind of get past that situation and be able to have this opportunity to coach the Nets, who, with all the talent they have on that team, can be a contender. You know what I'm saying? To be back with in that situation. So I feel like it's going to be a good situation for Ime if, well, when, because I feel like it's a win at this point, when he gets that job in Brooklyn. So,
It's
and
definitely.
mhm.
Go ahead. My fault.
No, 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 my fault.
Thought you were done.
I was done. I was done. I was done. Go ahead.
No, I definitely feel like it is going to be a good situation. It's going to be a good situation for Ime if he can control or help control the off the court distractions from coming
Hmm.
on the court. But the only challenge to that is he's coming to the team with off the court challenges himself. So for the Brooklyn Nets to hope that he can rein in all of those off the court distractions and hold
Hmm.
everybody accountable. I don't see how they expect that to happen, but Ime has showed that he can be a great coach. In the short
Hmm.
amount of time that he's been a head coach, he's taken, as we all know, he's taken the Boston Celtics to the NBA Finals. So
Hmm.
he showed that he can be a good coach, and then you just add the fact that he has a superstar in Kevin Durant. If Kyrie can pull in his off the court struggles and just play basketball, then you have Kyrie and Ben Simmons. That's a big three. As Shaq said, you have
Hmm.
2.5 stars on your team in the East. Should be, a recipe for a championship contender. Um, I think we all knew, as you mentioned earlier, I think we all knew he was going to get his opportunity to be a head coach again.
100%.
We didn't think it was gonna be this soon, especially with the
I didn't.
suspension
Yeah, facts.
that he had from the Celtics. But Stephen A. Smith called this very scenario, which is he called this very scenario to a T. He said, "What's gonna happen is Steve Nash is gonna get fired, or
Hmm.
the Nets are gonna let him go, and they're gonna go get Ime Udoka." And damn near 2 months to the day, is exactly what happened. So
Hmm.
the question that keeps coming up,
Hmm.
and to me, it's like, why are we back on this? But the question that keeps coming up is, how do we think the women? What's the message that this sends to the women in the Nets organization?
For sure. And I mean, I think with the hiring, I think what's going to happen is the Nets are going to have to vet this very, very, very thoroughly
Hmm.
and give Ime some clear cut rules and concise instructions with how he moves about the organization.
Hmm.
Because they are because of course a couple of months back they were talking about how that the whole power dynamic and him being him messing with a subordinate and this that, and the third. They have to give him some clear cut instructions on how to move. So it definitely sends a message to the women of, this is just my opinion. It sends a message to the women of, okay, the organization is hiring this man that clearly had a situation with women in the past within the organization. Now we have to be on our toes and on our P's and Q's whenever this, if and when this man comes to this organization. So I think the women, I think the Nets have to make sure that the women understand that they are protected and they are, and everything will be good when this man comes. They have to send that message to the women in the organization. What you think?
So I agree with you in parts. I feel like that you're right. The Nets have to let the women know that they are protected in the situation
Mhm.
when Ime comes. I feel like they have to give clear cut guidelines for what for how Ime maneuvers around the organization. Where I don't agree with you, and you didn't necessarily say this, so I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
Right, right, right.
what it seems like, not what you said, but what the media is trying to do is paint him as a predator, a sexual predator, and
True.
that's not the case. He had a
Right, right,
consensual,
right, right, right.
well, what is perceived to be, what is known, the information that has been released, he had a consensual
Consensual
relationship
relationship.
with a woman inside of the Boston Celtics organization.
Mhm.
I'm sure that there are other consensual relationships um, that were deemed wrong that women. I mean, women deal with this all over, and I'm not saying that they are used to it and they should deal with it. I
Mhm.
definitely don't speak on the woman's behalf,
Right.
but this is standard procedure. It seems like in these types of organizations,
Mhm.
and women again, I don't want to speak for them, but I don't think that the women of the Nets organization are too concerned with
I
this
don't think
hire.
so either. I
Yeah,
don't think so either. And like you said, if it's like the word consensual means both parties agreed. Period.
right,
You know what I'm saying? So with it being a consensual relationship, if I mean, like you said, I don't think the women are much concerned because if one of them chooses to be consensual with the nigga, they can choose to be. You know what I'm saying? Like
right,
it's two adults consenting to actions, whatever,
exactly.
whatever it is to this relationship. So it's I don't think they're too worried either. But if they do have some kind of worry with Ime coming, all they got to do is voice their opinion. Go talk to
Mhm,
the owner. Go talk to Josiah and let him know, like, hey, this is how I feel, and y'all
mhm.
can talk about it from there. And Josiah just needs to make sure that the women understand that they are protected, and this is how we're going to handle this situation.
And
But
I'll also add
yeah,
that Ime, especially being the fact that he was publicly embarrassed
hmm
with the whole situation, he's probably gonna make sure he's on his P's and I would hope he's gonna make sure he's on his P's and Q's anyway. So it's
hmm
probably something that is a moot point right now.
for sure.
But yeah, I agree with that first statement that you said. The Nets have to make sure that the women of the organization know that they're protected and that they can
hmm
come to them with anything, and it's not just going to be swept under the rug. Although I don't really feel like any of them are too concerned right now.
I don't
But
either,
again,
and
I don't want to speak for
yeah.
them, and I don't want to put words in their mouth.
For sure. And I agree with you too, because you said that Ime is gonna be on his P's and Q's because he's walking on thin ice. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm,
With this new organization, because it had already been said that he did it with Boston. He had relationships in other organizations that he's been with too. So he has to, like you said, keep it straight and narrow and make sure he makes the most of this opportunity because if anything happens this time, it could be his last opportunity. So he's got to
mhm.
be on his P's and Q's and he's got to stay. He got to stand strong and just resist temptation, my boy. Like, come on, man. You ain't gotta do all that. But how do you feel he can help the Brooklyn Nets?
I mean, like we said, he's proven in a short period of time that he's a good coach. Obviously, he has the tools necessary to be a good
Mhm,
coach, as he's had multiple assistant jobs across the league. Um, he's getting this chance to be a head coach after so quickly after the situation that he just went through in Boston. And
mhm,
in reality, and in all fairness, basketball or coaching in general is all about relationships.
Mhm.
And you brought up the great points that he has relationships with KD, he has relationships with Patty Mills, he has relationships with Ben Simmons. That's a great starting point. I don't think I think the Nets thought initially when pulling in Steve Nash and his relationship with KD was good enough to win over the team. And I think they found out that it needed a little bit more than that. And so if you're able to have those good relationships with the stars of the team, with the leaders of the team,
Mhm.
then that just, it spreads throughout the whole team, the rest of the team, as far as, okay, this is a person that I can trust with my career. This is a person that I can listen to and know that he's put me in the right positions to be successful. I think the initial challenge, though, is going to get them to look pat. And I don't know, might just be speaking out of turn, but the initial challenge is going to be them looking past what he has gone through and then saying that he can hold them accountable initially. He's going to have to do some drastic measures to make them feel comfortable with holding them accountable, or feeling like he has the right to hold them accountable is a better phrase that I should say.
For sure. And I think, of course when he was with Boston, he had Jason Tatum and he had Jaylen Brown, who he pushed to have the best season of their careers while he was there.
Mhm,
You know what I'm saying? And he turned that, as we talked about before, he turned that organization around mid-season. They had a push to get to the playoffs, and they had a strong push to get to the finals. I
right.
think he has a good way of holding the stars accountable. I think he has a good way of being brutally honest. If they will fall shy of the standards that they have set for themselves or the expectation they set for themselves, I don't think he'll be afraid to call out mistakes because he
Mhm,
is a strong-willed coach. My thing is that Will, as they've already been called deep. Of course, Kevin Durant's been called a diva, and
mhm,
of course, Kyrie is the free thinker he is, the stubborn guy that
mhm,
he is that we talked about here a little while ago. I just hope that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving will be able to take that kind of criticism and not let their star power and the thoughts of themselves get ahead of them and ahead of what Ime
mhm,
is trying to do. But he's known to be a defensive coach. And as of right now, I think the Nets are ranked 29th in the league out of 30 teams as far as their
mhm,
defensive ranking. Uh,
mhm,
so if he can turn that around in itself, two things that if he can turn around from me, if he can turn around the defense with the Nets and Ben Simmons, if he
mhm,
can turn Ben Simmons around, I think he would be in prime position to take these guys to the promised land because he has a really good team that he's coming into when he comes. So hopefully he'll be able to turn it around. But um, it's it's a tricky situation because a lot of people don't think he deserves the spot. Boston is in their feelings about it because Marcus Smart came out and said, Ime's name got slandered and slaughtered, and it was, as much as he got slandered and slaughtered, he'll probably never. They say we're saying he probably never coach again, but a couple of months later, he's probably going to be the coach for one of the biggest rivals that we have. He said
and
it's tough and it makes no sense.
yeah, I mean, and now he has Marcus Smart has every right to feel that way,
Hmm.
but he should look at the organization that he's playing for and how they handled that situation
They handled
because
it terribly,
they handled it terrible. I mean,
terribly.
they could have did one or two things. They could have just fired Ime, which
Hmm.
they essentially did, and then gave the little information that they did and let us try to figure it out. Or they could have just been more clear with the information that they had about the
Hmm.
situation and given clarification for why he was only suspended for that year and not
Hmm.
let go. Because like we have said from day one of covering this whole ordeal with Ime, is it's just not it's got to be something else for why they decided to suspend him rather than fire him, and then the length of the suspension that he's had. It has to be
Hmm.
something else, and I still feel like it's something else, even though we've kind of come to the conclusion of this episode with Ime Udoka and the consensual relationship.
Yeah, I think there's something that they're still hiding. I mean, they gave the information that everybody wanted and kind of left it at that.
Hmm.
Um, but the fact that he is leaving Boston and then taking a job right down the street, like essentially, and trying to get those guys who were in the same division as the Boston Celtics and trying
Mhm.
to coach those guys to where he got the Celtics to last year to the championship, it just feels kind of weird to me. But there was one thing, and I was reading the New York Post, and Ian O'Connor, who's a writer, who's a sports writer for them, he said that the Nets are trying to clean up their own mess by borrowing something from somebody else's mess, which is never a good
Yeah.
idea. So
Yep.
that statement was kind of funny, but it's one of those things where I kind of felt at one point before we had this conversation, which I'm glad we had these conversations every Sunday, is that I felt like there were so many there were a couple of different names that rang out to me that I thought about when I was researching this. And I was like, what happened to Quinn Snyder, who was a free agent head coach? What happened to Mark D'Antoni, who was also a free
Mhm.
agent head coach? What about Mark Jackson, who's been blacklisted for the past like 6, 7 years and hasn't had a coaching job for forever? So like they're
Right.
making this, they're making what I feel like is a bold move to go get Udoka, which is like since we're having this conversation, is not that bold, but
Mhm.
he wasn't the only candidate for this job. And there's so many more names out there who, to me, would be just as good as Ime to have this position. So it's like,
You
it's
know,
crazy.
I'll give a example for this. So you know how when you were younger,
Hmm.
I'll speak for you. I'll speak for myself. I won't speak for you. When I
Okay.
was younger, when I was younger, since we're getting around Christmas, there's always one or two toys that I absolutely had to have for Christmas, and if I didn't get it, I wouldn't say I threw a fit, but I wasn't happy on Christmas Day.
Facts.
It just feels like the Nets always wanted Ime Udoka after he proved himself to be a valuable coach last
Okay.
year. That's what this move feels like because you're right. Quinn Snyder, who was not a pushover coach with the Utah Jazz the last couple years, was
Hmm.
good. Mark D'Antonio, while his system is different,
Hmm.
he does win a lot of games during the regular season, but during the playoffs, it doesn't fare that well. So, I
Very
mean,
true.
I could see why they may have looked over him, and then he was already in that market with the New York Knicks, so they
True.
probably
You're
don't
right.
want to go down that route.
You're right.
Mark Jackson is a one that is a head scratcher as to why he has not gotten a head coaching job because it's not like he did a bad job with the Golden State Warriors. He basically helped build the team to what it is now, and then when Steve Nash took over the keys, they started winning championships. So I don't know what
Not Steve,
the
Steve Kerr.
issue is.
Steve Kerr.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Steve Kerr. I said
Yeah, yeah,
Steve
yeah.
Nash, didn't I?
Yeah, yeah, it's all good.
Sorry, Steve Kerr. When Steve Kerr took over, they wanted to start to win the championships. But I
Hmm.
don't know why Mark Jackson has been
It's so
blacklisted
weird to
from the
me.
NBA.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's one of those things where like you said, Josiah had a relationship with, because he used to be part owner of the Spurs whenever Ime Udoka was there, and then he bought in, and now he owns the Brooklyn Nets. So he has a relationship with Ime in the past, and like you said, I do believe that since he proved himself in the NBA as a winning coach and a coach who can take the reins and win the locker room and make a team better by just his presence and his thought process as a coach. I feel like they wanted him for a while.
Mhm.
And that's the main reason why he's there. And they're going to vet as much as they can to make sure that he's good to go and that everybody in the organization understands that Ime is going to be here and this is the steps we're going to take to keep him in line and keep him straight. So, my final thoughts are: I think it's a good move for the Nets, because they're going from a true rookie head coach to
Mhm.
a second year proven head coach that has a good philosophy about his coaching, can win the locker room, can possibly rein in the stars that he has, the big three that he has, and change the dynamic of not necessarily the organization, but the team that's around him to
Mhm.
be able to start winning. Because right now they're 2-6, which is kind of crazy with the team that they have. So if
Right.
he can just come in and just start winning, because winning cures all. Winning
Right.
cures all. As long as you winning, ain't nobody even gonna talk about what happened in Boston no more. It's gonna
Exactly.
be Ime has came into Brooklyn and he has changed the dynamic of this team. That's all they're gonna
Yep.
talk about. The more he
Yep.
wins, so I think it's a good move for Brooklyn, and I hope that Ime is able to do his thing with this situation. What you think? What's your final thought? What's your wisdom on it?
Yeah. My final thoughts is I want to say I'm glad he got another opportunity, but I know that's probably not going to be the right thing to say. Um, I hope he does well. So I'll get off of that, but I hope he does well in the situation and
Hmm.
that the Brooklyn Nets can turn their season around, even though the season just started. They're not in any trouble by any stretch. You still have a long season to go. So I hope he does well. I hope the Brooklyn Nets can turn it around. But with all the turmoil that's going, I kind of went a different route than you do. I think if it doesn't work out this year, if he can't turn it around, the Brooklyn Nets just need to blow up the whole situation that they're in right now, and start over from scratch, because it just doesn't seem like a happy place to be right now.
Agreed.
Kyrie and KD haven't been happy there for the last 2 years. Kyrie's missed half the games that he was supposed to play while there. KD signed a how long was that contract? A lengthy contract,
I
and
think it
then
was a 6-year
requested
contract, and he requested
6-year
to be out of
contract,
there.
and then requested to be out of there.
Well, no, he signed an extension and then requested to
Yeah,
leave.
there
Yeah.
you go. He signed an extension, then requested to leave out of there. You just fired the head coach, who also did not seem happy to be there. So, I mean, it's just too many off the court issues, that's bleeding onto the court. And again, I hope that it does work out for Ime Udoka and the Brooklyn Nets. But if it doesn't, just blow it up, start all
Facts,
over.
man. It's
Go
funny you
go the
said that
way of
about
the
Steve.
Oklahoma
Nah,
City Thunder.
it's funny you said, or the Utah Jazz, but
Oh yeah, get all
but
the
it's
picks.
funny. It's funny you said that because it was a funny TikTok that came out with Steve Nash said he leaving the organization and not having to deal with Kyrie no more, and he was doing the gritty in his house. It
Oh
was
Lord.
funny. Steve Nash, that joke was hilarious. But nah, it was is hopefully everything goes right for those boys, man, and hopefully he make a turn around for them kids, man, for sure, for sure.
Yeah. All right, man. So episode 9 in the
9
books.
in the
9
books,
in the
man.
books.
Episode
Once
9 in the
again, I
book.
feel like it was we tread it lightly as we could on some of the topics that we talked about today,
We
but it was a
had to.
great
We had to.
conversation. Yeah, it had to. But it was a great conversation. I feel like we always have. We appreciate all the support that we get from everybody that comes to our channel, watches our videos, and listens to our podcast on a week in and week out basis. Again, if there's anything that you think we should discuss in our podcast, please feel free to reach out to us. Say, hey, I think you guys should talk about this, and we'll, take a look at it and talk about it potentially. Again, like, comment, subscribe, share this
Do
content
the
if you think
YouTube
it's
thing.
yeah, if you like it, if you think others should listen to it as well, help us reach our goal of 200. You said Sticks, or
200
500.
subscribers, man. 200
200
subscribers.
subscribers on YouTube. Download and subscribe to our podcast as well on all of the streaming platforms, and listen to us there. Share it with your friends as well.
Links in the description.
Links in the description. But with that being said, Sticks, I'll holler at you, man, and always good talking to you, everybody else.
Always, my boy. Peace.